what are other industries and types of businesses that maybe we haven't thought about that would be a really good fit, and just showcasing more business owners that, you know, are representative of our community and that we think are really cool.
Yep.
So just like consistently creating a podcast that people really enjoy listening to that makes them feel more connected to Bellingham, I think is my answer for that, is like feel connected to the business down the street or the brewery that they go to every Friday afternoon, the place that they love, they can feel a little bit more in the know about.
Great businesses don't spring up out of nowhere. It takes grit, perseverance, personal growth, and failure to reach the status of an iconic local business. Welcome to Season 7 of the Building Bellingham podcast, where we're bringing you 8 more stories of local leaders and how they are building Bellingham. All right, so we just came through a time warp.
Yeah.
And, you know, we take off this time, you know, between in our real estate busy season.
Yes.
So that we can do that because that is our main business. And then we get this excitement going as you're building up all of the reels and all of the fun like recaps of previous episodes and seasons, all of our favorite parts of those episodes with awesome local business owners. And then we get excited.
Yeah.
And we're here. And this year we've actually pivoted to do something a little bit different. Because this last year, Taylor, you took over the producer role for the Building Bellingham podcast.
Yeah.
There's a few of you out there, super fans. I know all 3 of you, all 5 of you. But I know that most of you have kept up on who's doing what and who's involved and what's happening. But I really wanted to create this first episode to kick off, to really kick off your first full season as producer in a way where people get to know you better and why we're doing this, why we're bringing the worlds of LiveBellinghamNow, the Bellingham Real Estate Company, and the Building Bellingham podcast and all the nonprofit November, all of the charity events, all of the different community events we do, and to really help people get to know you better because you do such a powerful thing that a lot of people don't understand.
It's kind of interesting explaining my job to people sometimes, like, especially because I say, like, well, I work for a real estate company. And they're like, right, but you do like a lot of video production. And I'm like, yes. And?
Correct. It is 2025.
It is 2025.
This is important.
But they get surprised when I say that, when I tell them the stuff I do. And they're like, but you work for a media company? I'm like, well, no, I work for a real estate company. And then they're like, but why do you guys do the thing? Well, we'll talk about it.
You're about to find out.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Taylor wouldn't call herself this, but everybody else in the office calls her Miss Bellingham. She is probably the most recognized person at our company because she is out there doing everything from food pot buys, going to local craft shops and, you know, showing what they do, to highlighting nonprofit entities, to showcasing Bellingham parks, to showing like all of these things that make Bellingham awesome. You're at the forefront of that. Obviously, we're showcasing our agents here, which is great. But you are probably, for me, one of the most recognizable people in Bellingham at this point.
So funny being perceived.
Well, you're behind the editing, software, doing a lot of that, and you're at the production and you're just hopping on camera. But I know a lot of people that listen to this and that are in this community, even though you wouldn't say this, I think we would all agree on this common theme that Taylor is Miss Bellingham.
I'll take Miss Bellingham.
So today I'm interviewing Miss Bellingham because we made a decision. This was a 4-way decision between Tiffany, who runs our marketing team, you, who runs the community side of the Bellingham Real Estate Company. Cooper does all of our video and editing with you, and also myself. And it took me a minute to understand why, because it almost felt like it was, well, Cooper and I started the podcast together.
Yeah,
and then,
I remember that, by the way, like before I worked with you guys. I still am a fan of the podcast, to be clear, but it's weird being on this side, like now getting to help run it, when like before I would text you and Tiffany like, that was such a good episode, good job guys.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It's so weird now.
Yep. But now you're running the show, and I think I wanted to talk a little bit more about how this decision came into play and why it's, at first I didn't understand. And then as it got explained to me, I said, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense, because this just brings this whole other side of the business under one roof, so to speak.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that decision
and
how it came to be.
Tiffany and I were kind of sitting down talking about just kind of the future of like stuff that we had going on, like the podcast and the Bellingham and things like that. And we were talking a little bit about how, as we continue to scale on like the side that is the moneymaker for us, that is like the sales, right? The real estate side of like, we're expanding. We want to, know people to join our team. What does that then look like to be able to, for Tiffany as the producer to still do the podcast, but also still be able to provide like the same level of awesome admin to like new brokers as we bring more and more people on. And so we talked about maybe we outsource the podcast, like the editing for the audio again, like maybe that's something we look into. And we're kind of sitting there and I kind of looked at her and I was like, or I could do it. Because I mean, I'm already doing a lot of our community stuff. We kind of sat and thought about it. And she's like, actually, I think that this could work really well because while it is kind of a more specific vein in terms of what kind of conversations we're having, I mean, building Bellingham from the very beginning, when you and Cooper started it, it's always been like a community podcast. Like you're bringing on business owners, occasionally, right, like other community figures and, you know, executive directors of nonprofits, but it's like the people that are providing the community with business, with resources, with restaurants and activities, right? Jobs, right? And so it's still community while we're still kind of talking about like the history and the experience of a business owner, but through like a Bellingham business company community lens. And so we kind of were thinking, okay, let's bring Taylor on as a co-producer. And so I got to, for the first time, like sit in with Tiffany and Cooper in the back half of the studio, like watching you and our guests for season 6, which was really exciting. And I even helped to curate some of the people that we brought on as guests. Roughly the halfway margin, like episode 4, I got to, after watching Tiffany and learning how to edit and our software and doing all the things, like that was my first episode that I produced all by myself, was episode 4. And kind of from there, it's been me. And so now I'm our sole producer.
Yep. It's a really good reminder that when somebody is really capable, even if they don't know how to do the specific thing yet, that we figure it out, right? You figure it out. And you've done an amazing job doing that. And also just kind of going back to these different nodes of this company and why this podcast exists, why Live Bellingham Now exists. And not to give real estate a plug at all in this sense, but so much of like how when I've purchased a home or others have purchased a home, so much of that decision was weighted on what's the location, right? And what are the amenities in that location? What are what parks? What are the schools? What are like? Can I walk to a coffee shop? Like what? Everybody has a different set of criteria that's really important. But sometimes it's hard just by looking at the home for sale, if you're not from the area, especially, to go, oh, this house has all this value because it's near all these things.
Yeah.
And it's all the things we love to do or our lifestyle. Go into a little bit for the listeners, a little bit more when we started out to create these kind of separate nodes of the company. And we had a lot of people tell us that's just arts and crafts and that's just a lot of like fluff. And
how is that helping you to sell houses?
How does that help you sell houses? And what we really came to the conclusion on was that it helps us connect with people, humans, right?
100%.
It helps us show other humans what we love about where we live and lots of things that people probably didn't know about the history of Bellingham or the parks or what's coming down the pike, you know, like with development and the evolution of Bellingham and the people behind small businesses. So tell me about a little bit more about why we set these nodes separately, but with the common goal to like bring them all into one place so that.
Ooh, okay. I think it's so interesting because within like real estate and like your guys' job as real estate brokers, I feel like in order to be able to do that job, I feel like at least for me and like what I've noticed with our brokers, like it's really important to know the area in which you're working. Yes, you're going to know all the specs about the house, right, that you're listing this week, but like also you're going to know like, hey, like here's what's happening in the community. Here's an event that's been going on for like 2 to 3 decades that you can easily access every summer. You know, here's a local business that's just a few blocks down from your door. I think there's a lot of value in not just knowing about the properties that we help people buy and sell, but also the area that property resides in and like knowing the community and knowing all of the reasons that make it so amazing. And so I think for us, it was kind of 2 parts, right? Part 1, and I've kind of said this before, we want to be able to speak to where we live. Like we don't just work in Whatcom County. We all live in Whatcom County, have gone to school here, have homes here, our families. Some of us have kids that go to school in this area. So I feel like at least for our group, right, I can speak to like personal experience of knowing these people. We're invested in the community that we live in, right? We don't just care about our jobs and like what we're doing, but we care about Bellingham and we care about the businesses in the area. And kind of part 2 of that is like almost like the more like selfish part of like is just really wanting to connect with some of our favorite places in town, being able to support the newest restaurant that just popped up or go to Downtown Sounds because it's one of the longest running free music events in the area. And it's just such a fun way to get in to downtown and engage with the community, right? Getting to do things like that kind of obviously allow us to get out there and put our faces out there, show who our brokers are and their personalities and how awesome of people they are. But then also like being able to just kind of represent like, hey, this is where we live and why we love it. And I think that ultimately benefits us in the sense that we're genuinely invested in our community, right? Like it's not just like I'm going to do this so it just makes us look good. I mean, like it totally is a fun project for us. It's about genuinely connecting with the people in Bellingham and letting them know we're here as a resource and how can we also support you.
Yeah. Well, that's perfectly led into my next question, which is around authenticity. And that's been something that's really important to us. It's a word that it's almost too freely used. Like, I'm just being my authentic self. But what does it mean to be your authentic self? It's the vulnerability around your quirks, around what you like, what you don't like. Yeah. And one of the things that we've really leaned into, which is hard. It's hard to do because we have this urge as professionals to show our best selves.
Yes.
Right? And that's not, we call it the secretary. It's like, it's the best version. When you're dating, it's like the best version of you that's like, not farting and like, on a date or whatever the thing is. Like we want to show ourselves in the best light as humans, right? But there's something that's much more human about saying, yes, I'm a professional. However, pretty weird. And I'm just me. I'm totally just me. So how have you found that avenue where it's not like so quirky that it's unprofessional, but it's not too professional where it's like, it's not authentic?
Whenever I'm face to face with somebody, and especially in like a professional capacity, the biggest thing that I remember, this person behind whatever their job role and profession is, there's a human being behind there. It's not just what they do for a living. And so I think showing people that there's more than just the real estate side of our team and like what we do. And obviously that's a huge component as to why we do the thing, right? I mean, like at the end of the day, we are a real estate company. It's hard because I feel like just for a lot of us, like we just are ourselves. Yep. And so I almost don't necessarily feel like I intentionally say like, hey, just like take off the salesperson persona, like just be yourself. There's no process, there's no method. It's just like I'm showing who we are because we've created, and I would say you've created especially a culture here at our office where it's just like I registered that you're here to reach your business goals and you have a mission to like help your clients and represent them really well. And also I want this to be a place where you feel good about coming to work every day. And so that kind of, I feel like just kind of naturally bleeds over into Live Bellingham Now and the Building Bellingham side. I'm not focused on the day job part, but I get to do this fun activity that helps me showcase and love a little bit more about my community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's only the best possible answer. And just for the record, Taylor is on camera and is amazing at speaking. And for some reason, you were nervous about this one. And let's talk a little bit about that because you're incredible on camera.
Thanks. This is
a little bit different. You're stepping into something that you are very capable of, but you haven't done before. Yeah. One thing that I wanted to, from the consumer side, and one of the reasons that we created Building Bellingham, was inspired by how I built this. That was a big thing that Coop and I had listened to, and we just had gone down that rabbit hole and become really interested in it. But we also, not just with our brokers and our admin staff and our real estate side of our company, but we also recognize that if we're like this and this is who we really are authentically, then that person who you think is this something that they aren't, whether it's good or bad, they're also human too, right? Yeah. We're all humans that know mostly what we're doing for the most part, but also are still figuring everything out as we go, and we're pivoting and we're making like mistakes, and we're like most business owners are making a lot of mistakes. But hopefully nothing that's detrimental to like the people in their business and their clients and their consumers and their community. Tell me, as we pivot away from the real estate side of things, how did we focus that on helping people feel comfortable, like when they're sitting where you're sitting as a guest? People come in nervous, right? Yeah. And then they leave and they're like, that was really fun. Yeah. They're like, oh, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Right. Yeah. So from the producer's mindset, from the beginning of choosing the list of potential guests to reaching out, to scheduling, to then them coming here and being like, what am I getting into? To them leaving and going, that was awesome. You guys are fun. And I also felt like it was a good use of time. Yeah. How does that feel for you when you kind of go through that whole like timeline? It feels good because I'm very much someone who, in the line of work that I now do, like I'm very inspired by a lot of production companies and groups that I kind of grew up watching. So the level of high quality that's like the Try Guys and Mythical and like those like groups, right? And so wanting to kind of emulate as best as I can, right, that same level of like professionalism and communication and like output, but then also making sure they know like, hey, this is a no pressure zone. Ultimately, like we just want you to be able to come in and
share your story, the story of the business that you work with or have, founded however many decades ago or a few years ago that's really making an impact. And so, I'm just inviting them to come over and chat. Like they're just coming to chat with you and hang out for an hour and talk about why they love being a business owner, talking a little bit about some of the story behind what got them to the position that they're in. They get to just essentially have just a conversation. The difference is that it's on camera. They just get to sit and chat. And so I think sometimes people naturally just like, they kind of melt into the podcast once we kind of get in, because they get in the door, we do our whole like setup. And I'm like, if there's at any point something that you're like, I didn't like that, I'm going to try that again, that's totally fine.
Oops, shouldn't have said that.
Because sometimes we say things wrong, or we say something that's like maybe not announced yet. And so I make sure that they know whatever you want to like put out, that's what's going to come out of this podcast. And so they get a little bit more comfortable just kind of talking, because it is very much a no pressure zone. So then at the end, because we've had a few of those, especially last season, I feel like last season we had a lot of like, oh, that was really fun. I was like, that was great. We were like, good, I'm glad. Like you sounded awesome. Like you crushed it. And I don't know, for us, it feels nice to like give them a platform that allows them to kind of just like share their story, where they don't feel this high pressure to be 100% perfect. Like obviously Cooper and I go in and we edit the video and the audio, but I mean, it's not like it's this scripted show or skit.
So it makes it art and fun.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I just even thought about was it's almost like you bumped into the business owner on the street, but they don't have to rush to get somewhere else. They're actually here. They have time set aside. So it's the same feeling of like a casual bump into, on the side of the road, downtown, but there's time allotted and they don't have to like think about being somewhere else. They can just be here for an hour and then they can take off. And it's, and we actually, one of the things that Cooper had suggested was, I brought up, changing the intro music to something a little bit more casual. I think we all got kind of sick and tired of the intro song. It was like Skrillex, like it's just like some dubstep. I don't even know.
But are you awake, Bellingham? Are you awake?
Are you awake? Because now you are. Hello. And then Coop had the idea of like creating more of a like lounge setup. So going from this like
across this table,
it had its own it feels like there's been little phases to this where it's gone from, as we're building this thing more formal to like, hey, now that we know the content's good and we enjoy the people that we get to sit down with and people like being here, why don't we make it even more us and more fun, starting as someone that listened to it to being sort of involved to half involved to now fully involved.
Yeah.
What have you seen as far as like, we had talked a little bit ahead of time about this timeline of the podcast, from inception to now? What are some of the phases that you've noticed as like going from those different roles?
The consistent piece has just been like sitting down to communicate and share stories about a business in Bellingham. I mean, it's just been kind of like the team that's been behind it. I mean, Cooper's been here from the very beginning. We've had Tiffany since season 2, and then I jumped on last season. We've definitely, over the course of the last few years, broadened like industries, and like we've been looking out into multiple vantage points of like, okay, like what's an industry that we haven't tapped into yet, that there's someone that we can really tell is just absolutely killing it, just like phenomenal impact in the community. I think first too, like you and I, other people in our office, like we meet more and more cool people every year, businesses that we know about, but then we're like, oh my gosh, you know what? Actually, I think that would be a really cool story to hear. Every season, I feel like we kind of have this grouping of even more different or iconic businesses that we didn't think of before that we get to have on the show. And I think obviously it's kind of like just watching like someone grow up a little bit, where it's like, oh, you're just off to school in the very beginning, you got it, you're good. And then we kind of figuring out the wheels, like Cooper and Tiffany, and you helped kind of like move it and we adapt, right? I mean, like you guys had to pivot, pun intended, because you did a pivot series. Literally. Building Bellingham didn't stop. You still gave business owners an opportunity to platform their stories, because we had the access of Zoom during the pandemic, I mean, that
I was just thinking like, well, if I'm not essential, like, because there was a time when real estate agents weren't essential. I was thinking, well, if I'm not essential and I don't have to wear pants because I'm at home, I could do this. We could do this. Yeah. What else am I going to do? Just sit up here and tap on my keyboard, and so it's been fun to see that. And as much as we all, I think, desire to find a cruising altitude, which is, I think, there was a section of time that I would call cruising altitude, where we go, okay, we're out of the pivot thing.
Yeah.
We're
back into regular season.
Yeah. We've adjusted to be a little bit more like casual, us set up. And we had a couple seasons there in a row that were like, everybody's just at cruising altitude. And there's also nothing wrong with that.
No.
It feels cool to be constantly changing and adapting, but too much change and adaptation can also be like, oh my God, okay, let's just like relax.
Like the format you guys created has been the format that's worked really well because the core, the thing that shines through is the story of the guest.
Well, and I've also noticed that the main thing we've done is like anything in my brain, like anything I go, actually M, for those who don't know M's my wife, she made this commentary about how I'm either 0 or 100. There's not really anything in between. And I've been getting better at like 20 to 80, you know,
spectrum.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. And we wanted to do everything all at once. Well, maybe I did, and then everyone put up with me for that. But the cool part is that we've just said, okay, what's the cadence that we can manage, right? And that cadence is, 8 episodes a season, because there's a lot of production that goes into it. And we'll get into that in a minute. What does the behind the scenes look like? We can do 8 episodes really well. And also it allows us to just go along at a clip without we could probably do 10, 15, 20 episodes a season and still have plenty of business owners, community leaders to interview. But it's really cool because at the cadence that we're going, it allows plenty of time for new people to pop up and new businesses
100%.
to start doing new things. And it's just this constantly evolving thing. So on the production side. So for those of you out there that most of you understand what goes into the production of what I would consider to be a high quality podcast, there's a lot more that happens behind the scenes than just the interview. So for those of you that are listening, Taylor, can you step us through from booking to releasing the episode? What happens as the producer, and as what do you and Coop do
to kind of take you from season open to season close? Shortly after season 6 wrapped, we kind of all sat down and said, okay, let's kind of map out our vision for what some of our guests for season 7 are going to look like. Who do we want to interview? And then that gives me a list to be able to be okay, I'm going to reach out to people at this time for X podcast and this podcast. And so once we've kind of dialed in our list of who we want to reach out to, I go kind of sleuthing on the internet to figure out, okay, how do I get in touch with these people if we don't already have contact info, right? Sometimes we get lucky and they're people that we've happened to already connect with, or we know somebody who happens to get us a direct line. And so then from there, depending on what point in the season it is, a few months in advance, I'll reach out and basically say, hey, I'm reaching out on behalf of our podcast. Here's a little bit of info on who we are. We'd love to have you and your business's story on. Here are some dates that we're thinking of, and then you let me know if you want to be on the podcast. I'll hear back from somebody, and they'll be like, yep, I'm totally in. They'll pick a date, and I'll set up the calendar invite, and I'm like, okay, cool, we'll see you X date, right? And then you and I usually, within the week leading up to each episode, we'll sit down and kind of go over a list of questions that we both have, specifically you as the host. Okay, what do I want to hear about this story? Or what are some things that we know about this business that would be really, really good to have them touch on and talk about? And so that means doing a little bit of research and looking at their website and what we know about the business, or what our maybe personal experience with the business have inspired us to ask them about. So we curate that whole list of questions. They come into the studio. Cooper and I set it up. We've got a nice little 3-camera setup. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I got a camera, Leo has a camera, and then we got a double camera. And so we do both audio and video that we record. So we record the episode with the guest. We usually do a little intro video. Usually we've done live streams, but this season we're going to switch it up to just a short little reel that can just go out so that everybody can see it. And then we record. And then we say, hey, thanks. That was awesome. We'll send you all the pictures.
And then we say, get out of here.
You gotta go by.
Yeah, get out of here.
But I will say too, it's been cool. Some of the guests that we've had, kind of side tangent, the connections that we've kept with some of those people, that, or who have said hey, how can we support some of the things that you guys are doing? Partnerships that we've done with really cool guests that we didn't think would ever be a thing, right? Or sponsorships that they're hey, I'd love to sponsor this event that you guys do. Ram Construction, Mike, he just was I'm so on board with this fundraiser. This looks awesome. I'd love to contribute. We never would have connected with him had it not been for the podcast, right? So we do the podcast, and then on the back end, Cooper and I do our separate editing. So Cooper does all the videography editing, and then I do the audio edit that goes out on, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and anywhere that people...
Stitcher.
Do people still listen to Napster? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Do you know what Napster is?
Are you kidding me? I'm older than you. Of course I know what Napster is.
I wasn't sure. I forgot what it was.
I know what LimeWire is. I know what Napster is.
See, I was never a LimeWire kid.
I had tapes. I had floppy disks.
Did not have those.
I had a brick phone.
I did not have that.
Do you feel younger than me now?
I am. So for the audience
did
at
I just
home,
date myself?
Leo, how old are you?
34.
34. I'm 27.
Yeah, a lot happened in those years. Yeah. One of my favorite collaborations, because you're right, they've led to really great, meaningful relationships that have turned into some of the events that we do and sponsorships, and also helping with their events and being present at their events. One of my favorite cool stories is, I think it was season 5, where Jason Harper that
Oh my
owns
gosh,
Stemma
yeah.
came on, and then Greg Clausen came on,
Yeah.
who is the original River Table, the man of mystery.
They're amazing.
They're amazing tables. I remember like a month later, I don't remember if it was Jason or Greg had reached out and said, hey, can you connect me with the other person?
Yeah.
And I said, sure, here's his number. Next thing you know, they're throwing an event that is an art installation, an art, gallery installation at Stemma.
Yep.
And Greg and Jason collaborated on a specific limited release beer.
With the river table on the can.
With the river table on the can. And I was like, oh, that's what's really cool about this. It gave me the warm and fuzzy. I'm getting goosebumps here, because those are the types of things that make you get, as a connector, as a platform, go, this is the whole point of it, which also is one of the big reasons that we've very intentionally kept it non-monetized.
Oh yeah, no, we don't. And I think that's the part that, kind of going back to what I said earlier, when like people are surprised at what I do. Whenever we do, whether it's Building Bellingham or Live Bellingham Now, or like the occasional What's Up in Whatcom, which is our more Ferndale, Linden, Blaine, Whatcom focus platform. When I reach out to say, hey, can we feature you guys on our page? I always get the question of, what will it cost? Like, we're getting featured. What is it going to cost? And I'm like, nothing. For us, that's not the moneymaker, right? Like the thing that's the moneymaker for our business is like what allows us to do the community stuff, which is the real estate side. And so for us, I'm like, if anything, I would just love your collaboration, sharing it on your social media, sharing what we've done with you and your audience. And I mean, for us, it's just the opportunity to uplift you and showcase you to our audience and our crew. And hopefully like that eventually gets us on their page to show their audience. But like for us, it's mostly about collaboration. Like for us, we don't monetize anything, which is a alternative style for that kind of thing.
Well, it completely pivots the mentality around traditional marketing, which is that you hire somebody to, and not to knock any of these producers or marketing
those
companies,
are valuable assets.
they're very valuable, very worth it,
and
very high quality production. But the reason that we do it this way is because we know so much of our real estate business and many other businesses come from genuine relationships with other humans.
Yeah.
Right? Not the best version of us, but like information. And if you're really into market stats, you're going to find, our BHAM report. All you care about is finding fun things to do and good places to eat and nonprofits to go support and where to go to the park. Then Live Bellingham Now. And then, by the way, I barely scratched the surface. I'm trying to summarize each section.
We do a lot.
And if you want to see really cool houses and our smiling faces of our fun people that work here, and you're interested in real estate, cool, there's that avenue as well. Giving people the option, because too many times I feel like all of those things are smashed together. Yeah. And if you want the community content, you have to follow the real estate content. Yeah. And so what I've loved about what you and Tiffany and Cooper have done is they're all connected, but it's a really strong loose thread that's like between each node, right? And like if you happen to stumble from one place to another organically, cool. You made the choice to do that versus like, hey, you like food? Buy a house.
Right.
You
it's not
like
hey, in order to enjoy and access our content, like you got to sign an agreement that says, I'm going to use you as my broker. It's not like we're hiding the fact that we're a real estate company. Like it says in literally all of our descriptions, hey, we're produced by a real estate company. But it's like hey, we happen to be a real estate company. Here's some cool stuff that we learned about in the community. If that then inspires them to potentially choose us if they ever decide to buy or sell in the area, cool, that's great. That's a phenomenal byproduct. But it's not like the goal is like, I'm going to this business owner, can I film you? Also, you have to work with me after. Like that's not the type of collaboration or community trade that we're looking for. Like what we're looking for is just a genuine connection and opportunity to showcase somewhere in town that's really cool that we want to support, or somewhere that we've like really loved that's like, I want to know about this business. Like that's sometimes my favorite part. If it's a business owner, whether it's for Building Bellingham or something that we're doing for Live Bellingham Now, I just get excited and I like geek out over the fact that like, oh my God, I got to interview the owners of MW Soapworks. Oh my gosh, I got to learn about how Downtown Sounds gets put together. And Cooper and I got to like do photo and video like in the media pit. Or, I get to hear all about how Bellingham Pasta Company became a thing. Like I get nerdy about my community and I get to hear those stories and then I get to share them on our platform.
Yep.
Building Bellingham is a community production of the Bellingham Real Estate Company. We are an independent real estate firm located on Meridian Street. From our data-centric approach to a heavy investment in media and collaboration, we do real estate differently in Whatcom County. Check out Bellingham Real Estate Co reviews on Google, Zillow, and RateMyAgent.com, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions.
But kind of going back to like, we've got a little bit of an ADHD brain trail. Once we finished recording and everything.
I followed you, by the way. I was there. Thanks for I'm coming back now.
Hopefully everybody who's listening can also follow. So once we finish all the recording and everything, we take a couple pictures. We say thanks for the coming. We'll let you know when your episode is live. And then over the next week and a half, because we typically record on Wednesdays, and then Cooper and I always have a goal of editing and getting the podcast out a week and 2 days later on that following Friday. So then usually what kind of happens is like we record. Sometimes we let it sit for a day or two. At least for me, sometimes I'm like, I got to get this out of my brain.
Have a stiff drink.
Well,
take a break.
Maybe.
Then jump into it.
Sometimes I will jump in like on Friday. It just depends on the week and the day and the brain mood that I'm in. Because sometimes I'm like, I got to start this now. This was cool. I want in.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm going to hold off until maybe Monday or Tuesday. But then we do a whole rollout. Here's the episode. And then we post about the guest, who they are, where they can find the podcast. And then we'll do like some little follow-ups after that. And then we do it all again 7 more times.
So there's traditional media, then there's the way that we're doing it, and then there's your job. And for those of you that are listening to this that don't already know this, Taylor, we like to shower her with lots of compliments because she's amazing and does amazing work. And I know she gets that from other business owners because she's constantly out interacting with people. But also this last year, you got nominated for the Top 7 Under 40 Award through the Bellingham Chamber of Commerce and Whatcom Young Professionals.
So did Leo the year before, by the way. We're 2 top 7s. It's kind of cool.
So when you got nominated, that felt like to me a big recognition for the fact of like that your job, which is so unique, which I'm going to ask you a tough question in a second.
Oh, God.
A direct question.
Oh, God.
And this is for people that just don't understand.
Yeah. But
I just wanted to give you that shout out that you did get recognized for this thing that you're doing, which is directly tied to your career, which is what you're doing. Yeah. And there's not a lot of people that this is their job.
No, I do all these things and people are like, how? And I'm like, I just do it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good job for you.
It is. I like it.
For those that don't understand, so you are a producer of the podcast, an editor. You run the Live Bellingham Now and What's Up in Whatcom platforms, which are all community-based, all local business and nonprofit and events and collaborations and all the things Bellingham. Which has taken you and Coop to some of our brokers to some really cool places, like in the pit at the media pit at downtown,
so cool.
Downtown Sounds.
A lot of video.
A lot of video content. You're also on the real estate side doing walkthrough videos with agents. You're like, there's all these things. And for someone that doesn't understand how to market in 2025, what is the importance of your job?
As someone who grew up kind of in like the age of YouTube exploding, like I have very vivid memories of YouTube creators kind of coming up on the rise, especially throughout middle and high school, which very much is what inspired me to like end up doing what I'm doing today. Like I can like pinpoint, kind of looping back to my nerddom, but like the Try Guys, they're starting and like how obviously theirs it's a little bit different because like they're like a full-on entertainment media company versus like us who are like we're marketing our business and who we are. But that experience of growing up in what I would say is the golden era of YouTube is kind of what made me see the value in video marketing because it's grown a lot. It's exploded a lot. I think especially in the last 2 to 3 years, like video has become the main thing. Like that is the thing that like pulls people in and grabs attention. And like, I mean, that's what the scrolling loop is, right? And like obviously healthy balance, right? Videos and all the things. But I think video is because we have the ability to have these little supercomputers in our hand that can connect us to everybody everywhere, not just like we're not just connected to our direct circles anymore and the people that we go to school and work and extracurriculars with. Like it gives us the ability to stay in the know and connected to everyone, and that's not just like the people in our lives, but like businesses and nonprofits and government and entities and parks departments, right, are doing, and we get to see that and have it shared. And obviously, like,
watch out for that mic.
This is so.
Taylor's got very, very explosive hands.
I talk with my hands.
Yeah. Maybe we should like hang it down from the ceiling.
Honestly, probably. It's almost like a voice actor. But I think like video is an opportunity to kind of showcase, even with a little bit of editing, but like kind of some authentic portions of what we do professionally. And it's a way to kind of market in a way that I think is more like visually understandable to people than just like a photo or a graphic.
It's not too polished.
No.
But it's not like crappy.
Yeah. And I think there's weight to being able to like see and hear and like register like what the video is showing you. And so what, like from a marketing lens, right? Because there's a whole rabbit hole we can go into about video there. But from like a marketing lens, I think that it's incredibly valuable to have some form of that visual audio sensory component that like can almost put someone there. When Hey Dumplin' posts a video about their newest recipe, like you can almost put yourself there and like I can hear the sounds of the kitchen cooking. I can see them covering the dumplings in sauce. And then like the only thing you're missing is like that taste and that smell where you're like, well, now I want to go do it. Now I want to go taste and figure out what these dumplings are, right? Or like when we're posting about local concerts that are happening, like you can hear it and you can see it, but like you're like, okay, but now I want to go to this venue and feel what it's like to be at the concert. I want to feel the music.
I want to have a hard time hearing after this.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But I think there's just a way to help people connect and kind of like want to know more. Mm-hmm. Long answer, short answer.
No, that's a great answer. Also, it makes me really curious and you'll kind of be speaking for you and Tiffany and Cooper, our marketing department. But one of the most interesting things to me, as I am a consumer of content, I'm very curious. I watch stuff, whether I agree with it or not. I watch it because I'm just curious, like, what is this person doing? What's their intent? There's a lot that's out there that I just go, oh, like,
yeah.
And I'm not bashing on anybody. Everybody's a platform for that. But how do you do that in a way, like working with Cooper and Tiffany, how do you do that in a way where, not everybody's going to like our content, which is fine. That's okay. You don't have to like it. But how do you do it in a way where, and again, not to bash on people that do marketing for a living, where a lot of their clients get similar, like it's high quality. It's amazing. But then there's definitely like trademarked styles and.
Oh yeah. I definitely have an editing style.
You have an editing style.
Yeah.
Tiffany has an editing style. Cooper has an editing style. Yeah. Maybe we can have a battle of the styles.
I think Cooper would win.
But knowing that we're so inundated with content.
Yeah.
How do you create content where you think we don't need everyone to like this?
Yeah.
It's not going to not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
But the people that like it are going to really like it because of X, Y, and Z. Like, what are those elements that you think about?
I'm always, especially as a video editor and video storyteller, for lack of a better word, like trying to like figure out new ways that I can slightly adjust how I edit in terms of like plot. This is how we start the intro. This is what's in the middle. This is how we do kind of an ending. I don't know. I think I just focus on like, what's the overall, and this sounds so silly, but like, what is the vibe of this business? I was looking at it through this business owner's lens. Obviously, I can't fully put myself in their shoes, but I can, if I'm a fan of a business, right, I can kind of see like, okay, like what is the experience and the vibe that I feel like when I'm here, I'm experiencing this, and like, how do I want to translate that through video, whether that's through, certain color choices for the font, if I'm matching it to the brand, and just kind of the music. I mean, I definitely I tailor everything a little bit to like just kind
Taylor.
Definitely tailor it to kind of just like the business that I'm spotlighting and kind of what I feel like makes sense. This is a silly example. When we did Focal Point Pilates, I wasn't using like hardcore metal music in the background, right? Like I was using like a lo-fi, like something calmer, like R&B, pop, something that like just kind of felt like it went with the experience that you would get there, right? Versus like Here Bellingham Now series last summer for Checker Bloom, because they're like psychedelic rock type music, I leaned more into background music that kind of supported that. So if that kind of answers your question, because like I mean our content, when you look at kind of the structure of it, at least for Live Bellingham Now, like it's very, very similar. And right, obviously with the podcast, we have a structure of one little opening clip, kind of the themey intro, and then we get into the meat of the episode with a couple of little breaks in the middle, and then the outro.
Yep.
So for me, it's just like I got to focus on like the core and the story of this, and then all the other stuff kind of just falls on top.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
I think that's probably more important than it being perfect, is it being imperfect. Okay. We're all dying to know this, Taylor.
Okay.
I have a level of creativity for certain things in my life. But when it comes to like content, I can think of goofy, funny stuff, but I'm not really that creative when it comes to content. I can think of themes and ideas, but what you and Cooper and Tiffany do, it's almost like I've become a consumer of it, because I'm just
you have.
I'm totally a consumer of our own content now, and I'm like, that's hilarious. Or I'll get home and Em will be like, hey, I watched that video that Taylor put out today and it's hilarious, or it's like really good content, or and she's like, I've even gotten that feedback from my own lovely wife that is, she says that she's inundated with content, there's a lot of cringy content, and that when she sees our content, it's like, It's like something that's relatable.
Good.
That is, this is not just to toot our own horn, but this is more to toot the horn of the marketing team.
Yeah.
How do you continue to keep coming up with new ideas or R&Ding what other people are doing online and making it ours? Like, how do you stay passionate and interested in that?
Well, okay.
Besides being a Gen Z and growing up in the era of...
And I will fight anybody who says that I'm a millennial.
Who says you're a millennial?
Several people. I'm like, nah.
Wait, hold on. This is a side note. When were you born?
1998. I'm in the pocket. Okay, so technically if we're going to go there, I'm a zillennial. It's like this little in between of like 96 to like 2000 where we're definitely not millennials. We're pretty much Gen Z, but we're in this little pocket where it's like we're almost an in-between. If we're going by standard timestamps, I am a Gen Z.
Can we not just stick to one frame of reference for this? I feel like every time there's a conversation and someone's like, "Well, actually, I'm a millennial that came of age," and you're just like, "What? Wait, no. If you're born during this time and this time, you are a millennial. If you're born during this time and this time, you're a Gen Z.
Yeah.
If you're born during this time, next is Gen Alpha."
Yeah, Gen Alpha.
And then what would that make Bryn? What's the next one?
I think Beta is next. If she's not Gen Alpha, she'll be Gen Beta, I think. I'm going to Google that later.
We're going to Google that. And you know what? We're going to probably find, if we Googled the same thing, we'd probably find different results. Proper millennials came of age during a time when we knew the analog world.
Yeah.
We grew up in an analog world. But then we also came of age in a the beginning of technology.
As things were starting to explode.
Versus you were born at a time when there was still some analog, but it was kind of by analog, there's the technological world is starting to take over. So you're kind of immersed in that. You just have this innate ability to create because that's how you were taught to, or how you learned to create.
I think a little bit, kind of twofold. I think part one is having grown up so aware and just engaged with the content that I watched on the internet. Like for me, it was I wasn't just going to the movie theaters. I wasn't just seeing what was on your typical broadcasted TV channels, which obviously has evolved significantly since the time of just...
You say devolved?
Evolved.
I'm joking.
Well, either direction. But I mean, a lot of the content that I do consume now is, it's not necessarily Netflix or Disney Plus. It's certain production companies that's got their start online, right? It's Dropout, it's Try Guys, it's Good Mythical Morning, right? And so I think being inspired by the level of just genuine authenticity, again, to use that word, but genuine authenticity that those people were doing just on the internet before it became a real full-time job for them. They were just putting stuff out, we'll see what happens. We're just having fun. And then it eventually became, that is a thing now, right? Where it's you can make a career on the internet. So I think it was equal parts wanting to create content that I felt matched the impact that it gave me, and wanting to create that same effect even on a local scale. And then kind of second part, I don't know, I'm a visual person and I have always loved the aspect of storytelling. And somehow I just really figured out that I liked video editing, which I probably could take a few more courses on in terms of the more technical side, because I taught myself how to video edit at 19 with Windows Movie Maker. I did it to document a year that I spent as president of a junior sorority. And so I was well, I'm going to vlog because I grew up watching people daily vlog on YouTube, right? And obviously I wasn't doing daily vlogs, but I would put out a vlog every other week or whatever, depending on what I had going on, which just kind of slowly snowballed into let me try doing things from this vantage point. And when I jumped on with you guys, then I really got into video editing, started doing local business highlights and stuff. And so I think for me, really enjoying getting to storytell through video, feeling I really enjoy this is fun. And so then pairing that with getting to know my hometown for a living, which is what I like to joke about. My joke / it's actually real is I get to know my hometown for a living. That's what I do every day.
So that's what you say when someone that says, "Hey, so what do you do? I see you online. I see you doing these things. I see you eating food. I see you dancing at Downtown Sounds. But what do you do?"
I get to know Bellingham for a living, which is cool because as someone who, I am a transplant. I'm very sorry. I was not born and raised here, but I have been here since I was 13. And there were a few local things that I did kind of growing up, but just due to other extracurriculars and stuff, I wasn't going out and the first time I went to Downtown Sounds, I've been in Bellingham since 2011. The first time I went to Downtown Sounds was the year that Cooper and I went to shoot the mini documentary. That's crazy. And it's been around. It's not a secret. Somehow, some way, I was just in my own little bubble and doing stuff. Now it's one of my favorite things that I get to go to, right? And so I've decided to make Bellingham my forever home. And so I really want to get to know more about everybody and everything here. And so that seems to just translate really well into like my job because I get to do fun stuff. I do joke that I'm the personality hire.
It ain't me.
But like in the sense, like I curate team bonding, right? When we sit down and say, okay, guys, there's this new restaurant coming up. What 3 brokers want to come with me? Obviously, it's an opportunity for us to platform this business, but then it's also like we're taking a step back. We're not stressing about work. And yes, we're about to talk on camera about what we got and what we thought for our food, but we're also like hanging out and enjoying each other's company. And so I don't know. I just like getting to like curate fun, but still like impactful fun. Long answer.
It does make sense. Well, we're 2 long-winded people, so that's just going to happen. And it's a podcast, so we can do it if we want. Well,
what's our time right now?
we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's
I have one more
crazy.
question for you.
Okay.
Looking forward, you've been like slowly immersing yourself into it, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm at the helm. I'm running this thing.
Yeah.
We talked about cruising altitude. We talked about evolutions. We've talked about these little micro adjustments we've made, season to season to keep it funky and keep it fun and like do the same thing at the core, but do it how we want to do it. And from your perspective, what does the future look like for Building Bellingham? What would you like to see happen over because we're not stopping this. There's never I don't see this being something that we're going to go, yeah, this year we're not really that interested in local businesses and really don't want to know the stories anymore. Like we're just done. But
Just
like,
going to be interviewing Leo about his life over and over.
Ew. You don't want that. But what are some of your like visions and goals on how you see this continuing to be what it is and evolve?
We talk all the time in the office about like how we love getting to connect and work with high octane people. That's a word that we use a lot in the office. And I would say I kind of use that same train of thought with Building Bellingham, where like I just want to consistently produce this like really cool podcast where we get to just meet really cool people, share their story, especially as like new ones come up. I mean, when I look at kind of the scope of like what Building Bellingham has interviewed, I mean, we've interviewed people who've had businesses for as long as like 30 years, like Boundary Bay, to like a business that at the time was still in a food truck, not quite at the brick and mortar spot, but is now like this huge icon locally that is sweet as waffles, right?
Yeah.
Like, but then also it's not just like, we're not just looking at breweries and we're not looking at restaurants, but we're looking at people like Gretchen Leggett, who are like these huge renowned muralists who are making a really big impact on the art scene. And we're talking to people like Brad Barron, right? And Guy Grasso, and just people who are contributing, I think, in ways that, or own businesses that people don't always realize are making such an impact. I'm really excited because I'm crazy, first and foremost. I already showed Leo like my ideas for next season's lineup, but like just kind of continuing as we get to know Bellingham more, what are other industries and types of businesses that maybe we haven't thought about that would be a really good fit, and just showcasing more business owners that, are representative of our community and that we think are really cool.
Yep.
So just like consistently creating a podcast that people really enjoy listening to that makes them feel more connected to Bellingham, I think is my answer for that, is like feel connected to the business down the street or the brewery that they go to every Friday afternoon, the place that they love, they can feel a little bit more in the know about.
Mm-hmm.
And feel like I know who the person behind this, what I think is a monolith of a business, they get to hear the person behind that and learn a little bit more about why and what they do.
So how do we choose who comes on the show? Because we get people reaching out.
We do sometimes, yeah.
We get people reaching out that are a great fit.
Mm-hmm.
We get people reaching out that we decide, maybe not right now, maybe in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do a lot of outreach to people. But when you and I are sitting in that room and we're talking about like, okay, next season, how do we, some shows probably have some sort of like baseline criteria, and we're kind of
fluid
with it. We're kind of like, what do you think about this one?
Yeah.
What do you think about this person? What do you think about this? Also not trying to overload it with one specific industry too much, right?
That part.
Yeah.
Which can get really easy to do when you have X amount of this industry in town.
And some seasons we're like, let's get funky and weird. Let's try something completely different, or let's try 3 different businesses that we don't even know the owners of.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of a mystery. We go into it and we're like, well, this is what we've researched and we have like kind of no information. So we'll
find out what happens.
Giddy up. Here we go.
Kind of a little bit what you were saying. Try not to have too much overlap in terms of industry, because again, we want to be able to save for those repeats that we have, right? Whether that's like some sort of food production or brewery or something to that effect, just being able to save those stories to spread out over the course of time. But I think also it's looking at what are businesses that we perceive to be like iconic. When I think Bellingham, this is what comes to mind. And also too, maybe not businesses who have been around as long as some of the more like, for lack of a better word, like iconic ones, but ones that have made such a huge impact that we're like, I really want to know the story behind how and why you did that. Because you may have only been here for less than 10 years, but you made your mark on Bellingham, and Bellingham is helping you thrive. You are actively blowing up and sustaining that growth. We just kind of look at what exists in our community, and or if we feel like they're a good fit in terms of, their industry and their story, I think we just kind of say, you know what, let's reach out and see if they want to chat.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little bit of everything.
So as head honcho, boss lady, Miss Bellingham, again, I'm bringing that back. Coop, do you agree with that? Yeah, okay, he concurs. As the producer of this show, what would you like to say to the listeners and the guests that we've talked to, and also our future guests and our community members? What are some things that you're excited to share with them?
Oh man, kind of wrap it all up in a little bow. I would say, obviously to all of our guests, thank you for being comfortable and brave enough to get vulnerable with us. Sometimes people share really personal stories on here in terms of like risks they've taken or times that they failed and how they learned from that. And sometimes as a business owner, you endure conflict, and how do you approach that as the person who is like the head of everything, right? So thanking our guests for taking the time to share their story with us, because maybe they don't think it's like, this huge thing, right? But for us, it's like we're getting an opportunity to like sit down and see this person at the level that they are. Like we're meeting them where they're at and sharing their story. So I'm appreciative that they feel good about sharing their story. And then as far as people who listen and the people that hopefully listen to us, genuinely, thank you for listening. We get so much fun feedback. That has been my favorite thing, is people who know that we produce the podcast. I'll be talking in conversation, and then I'll mention something that happens to do with one of our guests by chance, like not plugging the podcast, and someone will be like, oh my gosh, by the way, I listened to that episode. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. I never would have known any of that if I hadn't listened to the podcast. So that's kind of a cool feeling, is again, that thing I was talking about earlier of like helping people feel connected to businesses in Bellingham and what they love about Bellingham. I hope that continues to be a thing for you, and that you continue to enjoy getting connected to Bellingham through our fun little podcast.
And to cap this episode off, I'm going to tell a quick story, very, very quick story about a time that I was surprised that somebody knew what the podcast was.
Oh, yeah.
And that was right after Tiffany made me a very custom hat.
Oh, my God.
With a patch on it. And it had been a whole thing. And I was out downtown and had my hat on after an episode and was, having a couple too many beverages. And it was a great time. And this lady walked up to me and said, wait, do you run the Building Bellingham podcast? And I was like, I'm on it. I talk to people on it. And she said, oh, I love that podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, get out of here. Who paid you to say that to me? Like, kind of joking. I was just messing with them.
Like, who do you know that knows me?
That is just messing with me right now? And I just remember that I was like, oh, here's my hat. And I gave her my hat, which it was one of one. Woke up the next morning and was like, where's my hat? Yeah. Damn it. And then I had to kind of like slink into the office and tell Tiffany what happened. And she said, well, I will make you one more hat on one condition.
You don't.
If you're drinking, please do not wear that hat.
Don't take it out.
Please do not wear that hat.
The hat stays at home.
The hat stays at home or on your head or on the office. This has been an awesome way to kick off our season 7. This is episode 1. We have many exciting guests coming up here that we're
so
just
excited.
People that you've all heard of or know their business. And we're excited to share their story. And Taylor, you are amazing.
Hey, thanks.
Miss Bellingham again. Hashtag Miss Bellingham.
Please don't make that a trend.
Make it a hashtag. Do it now. But thank you for listening to this episode, and I'm really excited that you were able to showcase who you are, who's behind the show, and why we brought this whole world together.
Why we do the thing.
Stay tuned. See you later. Cornwall Park, Miss Bellingham. Hashtag peace out.
We'll see you next week. Next month. Building Bellingham is a community podcast produced by the Bellingham Real Estate Company. Our producer and audio editor is Taylor Beal, and videography is by Cooper Hansley.